up, guys?
What's up, brothers?
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Water. Today we have an amazing value-packed episode, per usual. Like, what else?
What's new?
Not to gas ourselves up, but really we have such a great episode for you guys with handle or at Priceless Tay.
Yes, Taylor. She is a Gen Z financial activist and content creator.
She has amassed 1 million followers on TikTok, which is absolutely insane. I believe that's how I found her. At this point, you guys know we find all of our guests through TikTok.
Yeah, nowhere else.
It's just common knowledge now. But guys, we have a great conversation. She's giving us so many tips about how to be financially literate in your 20s. And she really focuses on Gen Z. Like, that's her brand. But us as, millennials can really benefit from this information and this knowledge that she provides. We get into a little bit about credit cards. We get into investing in stocks,
Roth IRA,
retirement accounts.
And she also goes over these just like amazing 3 tips that everyone should know before starting a business, just financially. Yeah. And just honestly, value packed episode. But before we get into all of that, we want to thank our sponsor, Celsius. We love Celsius.
Today, I'm drinking sparkling Fuji apple pear. What are you drinking?
Sparkling kiwi guava.
Ooh, okay. So I officially have my mom hooked on Celsius. Another family member. It was bound to happen.
We're just getting everyone on the train.
I just love that, like, when I talk to people about Celsius, like my friends, like, they genuinely just have great things to say about it. Like, for example, one of my best friends, Brooke, was telling my other friend Nick, like, hey, you should stop drinking coffee. He's like, I'm trying to quit the caffeine, trying to not do coffee. And she was like, dude, that's why I drink Celsius, because Celsius doesn't make me feel like crap after the way coffee does.
Yeah, there is such a crash after coffee. I even actually had a cup of coffee last week and I just didn't feel the same throughout my day. Like, it feels so much more draining, whereas when I drink Celsius, I feel like I'm just kind of like, I'm a lot lighter. I feel just way more energetic.
Yeah, I feel like it's more hydrating.
Yeah.
No way. Like, don't get me wrong. I love my cup of coffee in the morning, but coffee naturally just dehydrates your body. And I feel like Celsius just doesn't do that. It provides you with clean energy and you don't have that nasty crash after. You love to see it. Link in our description. Healthy energy accelerates metabolism and burns body fat.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on to Women's Realm. You guys know all about Women's Realm. We are telling you guys all about it. We also wanted to mention that it's not just Women's Realm.
But wait, there's more. I hate us.
You guys would probably think that this is like scripted. It's really not. We don't do anything scripted. Anyways, however, they do have Sleep Realm, they have Nutrition Realm, they have Fitness Realm, they have Men's Realm. So essentially, it's just like all of these resources for these respective genres. Yeah.
No, I feel like that's just
another
for music.
Word. No. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Like groups, activities.
Yes. You guys understand.
You know what I mean.
Niches.
Yeah.
Per se.
Niches.
But essentially, any of these realms, we're going to link them in our description. You guys can use these as resources for great articles, for amazing products, for incredible discounts. So hit them up. You guys, there's going to be an incredible sale on CBD. They even got a little sex realm going on. Oh,
yes, they do. You already know it. They have like vibrators on there, like
hell yeah, brother.
Like sex toys. Like, you love to see it.
There's no limit.
You love to see it. Actually, Jess also did a post with them for CBD. It's like an all natural organic CBD product, which is great because I really try to not use anything that's not organic.
Yeah.
So it's just
especially when it comes to something like CBD, like you want to use a trusted source.
Yeah, when you're ingesting it. So it's definitely something that you want to make sure has good reviews. It's
a vetted product.
It's vetted product. So check all of that out and more on Women's Realm. Check out their other realms, including fitness, nutrition, etc., etc. The link will be in our description for you guys to check that out.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of a catch-up
A little bit. We have a slight catch-up. Kind of just wanted to fill you guys in with where we are at with our business, since this is a business podcast now. But our creative agency, Mood, has been off the ground for about a month now. And we have some really promising deals in our funnel that we just have to get into a contract. And we were talking about what we wanted to catch up on and just kind of take you guys along for the journey of what having this agency is like and the processes behind all of it. And we are in the process of getting contracts for our clients. And I think that's something we might have debated at first, like, oh, well, do we really need one? Maybe not.
It doesn't need to be like a simple, like, Because there's like, some people just send over like, hey, we're working together, sign this. And then some people send over a 10-page litigation agreement.
Yes. Yeah. Like it could be as simple as a Word document that just has like, here are the deliverables, here's the agreement, here, sign here and date here. And then like she said, like when it's really big corporations, usually, like if you're working with someone like Target, you're gonna have you're gonna have clauses and confidentiality and
usage
things like
rights
that.
And stuff like that.
Basically, they will sue you.
So we just wanted to make sure that we had like all of our bases covered, and essentially we reached out to someone on Fiverr. You guys know we love our Fiverr. Wish this was an ad. It's not. But we reached out to a lawyer and we kind of gave her like a rundown of what we're doing, what we need to be protected for. And things like that. And so she sent over a little agreement. We still need to review it.
But that is the process that we're in, because, like I said, we were talking before, we have these deals, but like until you get it in paper and get a signature, it's really not finalized.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a verbal agreement at this point.
Which we all know you can't, as great of a relationship we do have with these companies, you don't really want to trust that. You always want to back yourself up in business and life and just have yourself on paper protected. So yeah, we're excited to lock in these deals, get it on paper, and start shooting content.
Speaking of getting things on paper,
yes,
why contracts are so important to have in place is because it not only protects your client, but it also protects you. And recently,
fun little story. We got some time. Tea for you guys.
A little tea time. Clink, clink.
Clink.
Look at us, full circle, man. If you guys follow my Instagram, you guys know that I went on a little rant in the past week or so. Because I came across a little speed bump with this brand that I had been working with for a while. So I had done a few story hauls for them, and I got paid for the first couple, and I had a really good relationship with them. I didn't have any issues. And then over the course, so like the first month we were good, got my payment. Second month, and of course we had a contract in place, everything. And then I received an email from my my corresponder, I suppose, the representative from the company. And she was like, hey, Jess, so, unfortunately, and this was like verbatim, she's like, unfortunately, we won't be able to process your payment for December. And she goes, our CEO didn't see the exact ROI that he wanted to see. He expected 3 to 4 times ROI on what he paid you, and we didn't receive that. So we're going to rework your last deliverables.
Which, if you're not familiar with the influencing world, there is very rarely a promise of return for your collaboration.
Yeah, it's a lot about brand awareness. And the thing is, I would never promise a brand a certain amount of ROI because I know that that's not realistic. It's about content in my eyes, and I do try to make that clear with any brand that I work with. I'm not going to promise you X amount of sales, but what I will promise you is brand awareness and,
and quality content.
And, you guys have my analytics. You guys know, what you're getting yourselves into. Like, if it doesn't perform, if you don't get like 3 or 4 times in sales of what you paid me, like that's not on me.
First, that's unrealistic because nobody can do, like very rarely you can do that unless you have an insane audience or millions of followers. But I digress.
So essentially that wasn't communicated directly to the CEO, and he had a different expectation. But, looking at my agreement with this company, I had done exactly what I had agreed to. I did my story hauls. I actually even over delivered, like I did a post for them when that wasn't, in our agreement whatsoever. I did additional stories for them. I gave them additional content because I was really excited to work with them. And that's my work ethic. I do like to go above and beyond for the brands that I'm working with, especially if they're treating me well. So essentially, she said, we want to rework the deliverables. And I was like, and then she said that she would remit payment like after, or, it was just really, really strange, verbiage. And so I said, hi, essentially I communicated to them that I would need to receive payment before reworking any deliverables.
Before putting in before creating any more content for them.
They need to pay me.
You have to get paid for what you already made. It makes no sense. Why would you make more content for them to just not pay you again?
Yeah. So that's what I communicated. I said, hey, I really don't appreciate how you guys are going about this. You can't decide to hold my money hostage just because, I held up my end of the bargain at the end of the day. I am very confident in the work that I provided. Essentially, they kind of kept giving me the runaround, and that correspondent essentially left the company. I was left to other people who tried to tell me that they would give me 15% of my payment. And then at that point, I was just fucking pissed off. I was like, absolutely not.
And then at that point, I gave her the green light to put them on blast.
Yes.
Guys, the power, truly. I mean, it's unfortunate because that definitely was the last option.
Last resort.
We were like, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I was obviously in this journey with her. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
We gave them like 4 or 5 opportunities to correct the situation.
A few more emails, a few more days. And then I was like, this is unfair. And it's not about the amount that they owed her. It's more so about the principle, and we're going to do a whole episode dedicated to standing up for yourself in business and things along that nature, but it's about the principle and knowing that if they're doing this to her, they're doing it to other creators, and it's just not right.
Exactly. So after they had continued to refuse my payment and like try to get additional work out of me, I ended up going on my little Instagram stories and, just putting them on blast.
Belling the world in.
And essentially, that's when they began taking me seriously. Crazy, I know, who would have thunk. But I actually even received messages from other influencers saying that they had really similar issues. So, like...
It's sad.
It's sad.
It's sad.
So essentially, you have to stick up for yourself, even if it means kind of like stepping out of your comfort zone. Like, you don't necessarily want to put people on blast like that. I don't think it really like looks professional, but at some point you have to kind of put your foot down. And that's when they took me seriously. And that's when they responded to my email and said, hey, Jess, we're sending out your payment tomorrow. Sorry for the miscommunication.
You're like, yeah,
and I was
sure
like,
you are.
But I received my payment.
Alas, she got paid. But also the moral of the story is how important contracts are too, because at the end of the day, she knew they had it in writing, the contract. So she was able to say, I will hire lawyers. I will get my lawyer involved. Had she not had a contract in place, she wouldn't even have that security to fall back on.
And I was able to, in almost every like freaking email, I reattached my agreement and said, hey, I did my part. I did my deliverables.
Nowhere in the agreement was there anything mentioned about ROI.
Yeah. And of course, I would have never agreed to that otherwise.
You wouldn't have signed it.
Yeah.
So get your contracts in place, ladies and gents.
Yes. And get your money. Get your money right.
And put them on blast if you have to. Last resort. But, gotta do what you gotta do.
And if you guys have enjoyed this episode thus far, we would so appreciate if you guys left a review. We actually got the nicest review the other day, and I just wanted to highlight it a little bit.
I think actually it would be nice if we just talked about a review every week, once a week. I think it's great for our listeners to hear. It's great for us to give ourselves a little pat on the back.
Yeah, this is just for our egos, honestly.
It's so heartwarming, but yeah, we're going to read off a review, and I'd like to do this every week. So stay tuned to see if your review gets highlighted on an episode.
So this is from Surviving and Thriving. The title is Whiskey and Water Makes Life Better. I'm crying.
I love the Surviving and Thriving. Like, that's already great.
That's already on brand for us.
Yeah,
we're changing the podcast name to Surviving and Thriving.
You're not wrong.
Wait, that's kind of fire. Okay, moving on. Giving you credit, brother. First and foremost, this podcast deserves nothing less than 5 stars. I'm beyond grateful to have stumbled upon this podcast this year. I love everything that they discuss is legitimate, validating, relevant, and relatable. I love that they engage with their listeners as well. It truly means the world to me. I truly mean it when I say that these ladies in this podcast has helped me through this year. This podcast is so motivational and so inspirational. Also, may or may not have a case of Celsius or 2 on stock because of whiskey and water.
It's so good.
Wow.
It's so good. I'm a little teary-eyed.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
I just cheersed you with my mic, and I did not mean to. But seriously, that was like, when I read that this morning, it made my day. Honestly, the validation from you guys is like
everything.
It's what keeps us going.
We're gonna do a whole podcasting dedicated episode in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
but
that'll be fun.
That is definitely so fulfilling for us. A lot of this podcast is out of pure fulfillment, guys. This is a passion project for us. Like, we love this. We love hearing that we're making a difference and we're making your year better. Like
who are we?
It just makes it all worth it. So thank you guys so much. And also, if you're new here and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave a review at the end of it, because I know you're gonna love it. And send to a friend.
Send it to a friend. Send it to a pal.
Copy and paste this, text it to them, let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you and I think this podcast would be good for you.
Send it to your broke friend, because this is all about financial literacy.
Yes.
And we want you guys to get right in 2021.
Yeah. So we won't hold you any longer. We're going to get right into our episode with Taylor. She is amazing. Make sure you check out all her socials and we'll get right into it.
See you on the other side, brothers.
Before we hop into it, we almost forgot our weekly challenge. This week it's going to be to buy a book, so something that has been on your list for a while now, but you just haven't pulled the trigger and bought it, or something that a friend has recommended to you and you wrote down, or it's just been in your brain floating around. This week we are challenging you to actually purchase the book. So that can be on Amazon or your local bookstore, wherever it is. Just the challenge is to actually do it and get it in your hands and start reading. A few recommendations off the top of my head for business and personal development is Atomic Habits, 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's so many great ones. And actually our guest, Taylor, has a great recommendation. So keep listening to the episode to figure out what her favorite book is and what she would recommend to anyone looking to take over their personal finances and get control over it. Okay, I won't hold you any longer. Let's get into the episode.
All right, and we are here with Miss Priceless Tay. How are you today?
I'm doing so well, ladies. How are you?
No complaints.
Better now that we're about to be financially educated.
Absolutely. So, for all of our audience, you want to maybe introduce yourself a little bit, tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. My name is Taylor Price, also known as @Priceless Tay. I am a Gen Z financial literacy expert and also a content creator, mostly known for my 1 million followers on TikTok, creating every single day just very, very comfortable videos about finance, literally wearing a hoodie, sweatshirt, no makeup, hair up, making it super fun and comfortable, because finance is something that everybody seems for some reason that it's just for suit and tie people, and it's not.
No, I love that. And so, the kind of first question that rises to me is, how did you kind of, fall into this path?
Yeah, so I actually, like most people, I believe, especially women, don't even take a look at finances until it's something comes up or something happens in your life. And so I started off as a pre-med major going into college.
Okay.
And my first semester didn't work out. I have a spinal fusion from scoliosis. And so just medical conditions wouldn't allow me to sit in a stupid stool for like 8 hours without being very uncomfortable. And so I switched majors because I said, "Hey, mom, what should I do?" And she said, "Oh, you should check out finance." And I didn't have anything else to do at that point. And so I checked it. And when I got into my first semester as a finance major, I thought, oh my God, I'm like learning all the stuff about financial statements, but I don't even know how to budget. I don't even I don't even know how to do my own personal finances. Like, what are taxes? What is this credit card? Like, how does people like look at this credit card? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And so that really got me provoked, because prior to that, I had no education in finance. It wasn't taught in my state. New York State is not one of the 6 out of 50 states in the United States that requires a personal finance course. And it's something that growing up, my parents didn't really want me to talk about money at the dinner table. Similarly to like a lot of other people talking, not being able to talk about money, religion, and politics. And so it's just kind of like this stigma around society that, oh, this is like a hush hush thing. You're not supposed to talk about it with people. You just keep it to yourself. And this really pissed me off, because once I got to college, I really felt that I was screwed over, because I was paying so much money and yet I still had no idea about my real life situations. And money is like a number one source of stress. And so this led me to do all of my own research. I basically gave up my social life at that time to figure out and dive deep into books, dive deep into different online communities, different blogs, websites, articles, that kind of thing, and really start learning.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's so good. And it's really important that like what you said about our families not talking about it, our parents not talking about it, and then you get into real life situations of being an adult and you're like, why do I not know how a mortgage works? Why do I not know what escrow is?
Taxes, like,
even. How am I 20 something years old and no one's ever either taught me this or it's never been common knowledge? So I think it's really important to hone in on the fact that taking charge of your personal finances is a personal job that we all have to individually do and take responsibility for. Because it's, especially if it's not, interwoven in our education system, like you said, only how many? 6 states in our country?
6. Yep.
That's insane. So yeah, like for our listeners, just this is a reminder that if you haven't started to take control and, really take ownership over your personal finances, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, because no one's going to,
no one's going
to do it for you.
Right.
And it's funny because at the start of this podcast, we've been doing this podcast for like a year and a half now. And at the start of this podcast, on one of our first episodes, I had mentioned to our listeners that I hadn't done my taxes in like 2 or 3 years, and the audience was like, Jess, what are you doing?
Something ridiculous like that.
And now I've become a little bit more financially literate. I'm more on top of my taxes. I mean, at least I have an accountant who does it for me. But it is so important to take control of your finances, know what's going on. So we kind of just scrolling on your page, we found a few things that we want to talk to you about. From Roth IRA to investing to, we saw that you had some notes about like business and what kind of things that people should know before starting their business, stocks, credit card hacking, all of that good stuff. So I think that, a really prevalent trend right now is investing, and that's like what people are getting into a lot. So we'd love to talk to you just about that, for like, we only kind of recently got into it. I'm invested into a few different stocks. And we both have Roth IRAs as well, but we'd love to just kind of explain that to the audience, why it's important to have a Roth IRA or a retirement fund, things of that nature.
Yeah, and maybe why it's important to start now, too. Because I feel like you probably have a lot to say about that.
I love this conversation because what's happened with like GameStop, AMC, and Robinhood, everybody's talking about investing. But one thing that I do have to say is that investing is almost at the top of the totem pole. And that investing really shouldn't be looked at unless you have an emergency fund, unless you're not in loads and loads and loads of debt or credit card debt, whatever. So let's rewind it back a little bit to this concept that I call the money tree. So you start off with this seed of budgeting. Think of like a tree and how it grows. So you start off with the seed of budgeting. You water it with your good credit score. You water it with an emergency fund, with continuation of that budget. And now you have this small, like little germinating tree that's basically a sapling. And how that continues to grow is that you have your primary source of income. So for most people, that could be a full-time job, or you have multiple different side incomes. And this is what creates these branches. And as we all know, branches are not as strong as the trunk. And so investing is one of those branches. Investing is not guaranteed. It's not as secure or stable as something like your primary income. And so, yes, it is super, super important to start that Roth IRA. But prior to that, I always like to stress to make sure you have your foundation, your roots of budgeting, and you have that secure source of income. And then once you're ready and once you kind of have that down, start looking towards investing. And in terms of the Roth IRA, for those of you listening who don't know what it is, it's a tax advantaged investment and retirement account. And what that means is that everybody hates taxes, right? I'm not the only one. I'm sure you two ladies, like you didn't file taxes for 2 years. We all hate it.
Not a fan.
And so, yeah. And so what this does is that you pay taxes up front right now when you make your contribution, instead of 50 something years from now when you take that money out. And so this is really good because usually taxes go up year by year. And so let's say 50 years from now, the tax rate is absolutely huge. Guess what? You don't have to worry about that because you paid this year's tax rate. You paid next year's tax rate, the year after that's tax rate. And overall, it's a money saver. It helps you plan for retirement and helps you live the life that you want, because I know so many people and their parents that have to work, unfortunately, for their entire lives because this wasn't taught in school. They had no idea that this thing even existed. And so love talking about it. Just make sure that you have your money tree set and stable.
I love that. And
yeah,
I think
that's very important and very true. So thank you for,
emphasizing
humbling us and being like, okay, let's make sure we're not 30 grand in debt and credit card debt or something like that. So yeah, that's very true. Like you need a good foundation before you can build a structure on top of it.
I also think that you just explained that so well, because I have a Roth IRA and I have had one for like 2 years, and now I feel like I actually understand what it's doing, and it's not just like somewhere that like I deposit money into monthly. So that's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Where do you think, you want a question?
No.
Where do you think would be the best place for someone to start first if they want to look into getting to investing? Like, what would you say the first step would be?
Picking up a book called The Intelligent Investor. One thing that I love, I guess, about social media, first off, is that it almost ignites and brings an awareness to that, hey, there is this different kind of thing called investing. You can actually put money into something and get a larger sum out of it for selling something. But one of the problems that I see with social media is that there is a lot of information, some not even right information, especially with what has happened over the past few weeks with everybody wanting to talk about stocks and finances
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And so the most accurate information that I would have to say is check out tangible physical books that have been like there for 25, 30, 40, 50 years. And so use social media as your igniter, your ignition, and then use books as how you actually really get into deep diving.
That's a really good point that you made, because we were just speaking before we had recorded the episode with you, or before this episode, and we were saying how, everything that happened with GameStop and AMC, and we're like, something is mainstream when like our significant others are like talking about it with their friends. Like now everyone's a fucking stockbroker, you know what I mean? So I think that's great advice and insight, is to like not take everything for face value on social media, especially when everything on there is like so fast and people are spreading knowledge so fast. And you have people who are claiming to be experts, but they're not. So definitely like get down to the root of the knowledge. And I love what you said about a physical book, because
you can't beat it.
We both are fans of physical books, and like having something like in your hand that's a real object and being able to flip through it.
And also, if someone's like writing a book about something, hopefully they're very well versed on that. And a lot of books have been around for a long time. So it's like, this isn't, some practices of investing, aren't going to go away. And of course, the industry will change, but there's always going to be that foundation, and you kind of always refer back to that. And I think that with the huge the short that just happened, so many people, like you said, are going to be like spreading this information that they believe to be true. However, it might not apply to every situation, and people will take this information and they'll run with it just to find out that they're going to get screwed over because it's not super accurate or tangible.
Yeah, and it's like, would you rather listen to someone who wrote a book, or would you rather listen to someone who spent 10 minutes making a TikTok? And you just don't know, you got to do your research and make sure people are legitimate like you, who are reading books and getting the knowledge. If someone, we had looked at your YouTube a little, and we saw you had a video about the things that you wish you could have done differently before starting your business. And I think that's really like great tangible advice for anyone listening who is thinking about starting their business, and they're scared because they don't want to make those mistakes that they know are out there. So my question for you is maybe like, what would be 3 things that people should know before starting their own business financially?
One, failure is inevitable, whether it be the total big failure of your business model not actually working out, or it just may be a minor failure. So many people, and this is why I think it's looked down upon in school, is that entrepreneurship is majority journey failure, very small startup success or unicorns. And so we have to take a look at those past failures and make them into our future successes. And that's what most people don't do, but that's one of the most pinnacle or pieces of advice that I have to give, especially for entrepreneurs just starting out, is that use the failures that you have anywhere in your pieces of life, and that will definitely show up in business, how you operate, and again, make them into your future successes. Another thing is to actually find or have a problem that the mass or majority of people have. So many people start businesses like, oh, I only have this problem, so I'm going to create this product because I need to solve my solution. But that's not the case for majority of very successful businesses. It's solving mass or a majority, many, many, many people, whether it be a certain target audience, like, I don't know, people in personal finance, or somebody who's fishing, so it really all depends on, hey, is this problem going to have a solution for many people, or is it just going to be for yourself? And you can do that through surveys. You can start asking friends and family. another good way, of course, COVID pending, is to chill at Starbucks, and everybody who's walking by you, just ask, hey, is this something that you think would be cool? Or is this something that is helpful, not helpful? Go on Reddit communities, go on Quora, go on Medium. You can use social media, especially to help with this out. Lastly, number 3 is to really start developing the customer journey. Many people starting a business, they just hop into it without knowing who their customers actually are, what their pains are, what their gains are going to be, what their jobs are currently. And so what you need to do is figure out, okay, what's this job that I absolutely hate doing? For example, taxes. We'll play along with TurboTax for this one. Okay, what's something that you think that what you would gain from maybe a platform that does your taxes? Okay, well, I'm doing it right. I'm staying within legal terms and I'm winning. And then how does that play out? Okay, you have this absolutely amazing platform that people can use. And so those are the 3 tips that I definitely had to give.
I was really, really impressed by everything that you just said because, I think I was maybe expecting like a really brief synopsis being like, yeah, well,
do A, B, and C.
Do A, B, and C. But no, that was really, really, really insightful. And I loved what you said, just starting from your first tip, which was about failure. And I feel like we can kind of expand on that because I feel like a lot of people, like, failure is going to look different to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's no textbook definition of failure. And I kind of feel like it's relative. But I love what you said about like kind of, it's inevitable. And I feel like you also have to take, failure. It doesn't always look like becoming bankrupt and closing your business. Maybe it can mean not hitting a certain sales quota or, not getting into a certain store that you wanted, just thinking retail because that's what's relevant to us. And I think that it's just really important to be able to kind of pivot and adapt and kind of roll with the punches. I also love what you said about like, doing actual market research and finding things that will not only benefit others, but also, not only yourself, but also others. And I feel like the whole, like making surveys, polling, and doing things like that is so important. And I love the tip about like Starbucks and literally just asking random people, although that definitely is out of a lot of people's comfort zones. I feel like that would be so valuable because also a stranger doesn't owe you anything, like they'll tell you straight up whether or not something is, they feel like it's relevant, which actually brings me to, I got this email the other day. And it was this guy who reached out and he said, hey, Jessica, I'm developing an app for influencers. This is the concept. What are your thoughts? And I was almost like, I don't have the time to respond to this, whatever. But I did feel like I could give him some good insight. So I responded and, I didn't want to tear him down necessarily, but I definitely was just kind of brutally honest. I was like, he's reaching out. I'm going to tell him exactly why I think that this wouldn't work. And here's a pivot that I think could work. And that's exactly what I gave him. And he responded and he was like, thank you so much. Like this insight was super, super helpful. So I think even just like, reaching out to your community, reaching out to random people even can be so, so valuable.
Yeah, especially with the tools, like how even just using TikTok as a platform. I would love to hear your experience on that since you have such a large platform on there and I'm sure you've grown it probably in a short amount of time because that's how TikTok works. Like people just blow up and it's awesome. I would love to hear a little bit more about your experience with that and like the type of knowledge that you have found people really engage with the most and find the most value in.
So prior to that, I just do want to say that asking friends and family is not definitely the best circumstance because they definitely have some stigmas about you, what you're doing. And so asking strangers like on TikTok or like on Instagram, that's where I actually do most of my asking because there's the poll feature, there's the quiz feature that I really use, and then there's the little text box as well too. So that's actually where I find the most engagement. Like tens of thousands of people will want to see what other people are polling if it's like a yes no question.
I mean, I do the same.
Do you like dark mode or light mode? And you'll find that like with my poll, 75% of people prefer dark mode while 25% of people prefer light mode. And so when you're thinking about TikTok in particular, I actually like to use TikTok more as a segue into my other channels. TikTok is really good for going viral. It's really good to get that awareness, brand awareness, whatever you're doing, financial awareness, what I like to do, and segment it to go to, hey, I'm going to have an Instagram audience. I'm going to have a YouTube audience where I can discuss maybe longer form content. I can use Instagram for these different kinds of polls, maybe get more artistic and creative if I want to. And so that kind of thing.
I love how you mentioned even at the beginning of our episode that like when you go on TikTok, you're like, hey, I'm coming on, no makeup, sweatshirt on, like, you know, don't give a fuck. I'm here to provide value, and this isn't about the, you know, aesthetics. And I feel like that also probably just makes you so much more relatable. You know, it's not like you're sitting there in a suit and tie talking bullshit. Like, it's like, hey, I'm just here to provide you value. That's all we're doing here. And, you know, it's a resource that people can rely on.
Yeah, it does, because you have to think that the majority of people on TikTok are younger or they are in school still. So after being in school for 6, 7, 8 hours on end, watching professors in button downs or women in dresses and all this kind of thing, I'm like, I just want to relax with everybody. Like, nobody wants to watch somebody who's like all strict and nitpicky. Like, I want to cool down, chill with you guys, and make it something that's fun that we can actually talk about.
Yeah, and that probably also releases a lot of, you know, pressure for you because you're not like, okay, fuck, well, I gotta do my whole face and put on a dress. You know, you're like, okay, inspiration strikes. I'm in bed and I'm fucking making this TikTok right now.
Yep,
I love that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because you're really redefining in a way like what success and what wealth and what, you know, money, finance looks like to people. So like you said, a lot of times people think finance, they think old white dudes in suits, you know, and I love that like this generation is totally like rebranding what it means, and they're like, hey, wealth is for everyone. Wealth isn't just for the old white man. You know, wealth is for anyone who wants to seek it. So I think that's so cool, and I love that you kind of have branded yourself that way, because I think it's like individuals like you who add to the collective whole of just changing people's perspective on what it means to be wealthy and what it means to have financial literacy.
And she's spreading it with, you know, such an impressionable generation too. So it's like
we love our Gen Zers.
We love it.
We're fans.
Yes.
If you don't mind, us asking, how old are you?
I'm 20.
I knew she was gonna be like.
See, you know, I thought you were gonna be super young, and then you were like talking about college and stuff. I'm like, okay.
I just love these Gen Zers getting on and schooling us millennials.
Like,
love it.
Oh my god, I can't believe you're 20. I'm like, I need to get my shit together.
Humble us.
I'm like, you're hired.
I feel like our generation, specifically like Gen Z, had a totally like advantageous way of growing up. Like, unfortunately, millennials, like, you got brought into the internet a little bit later on, and
we
like
did.
fell on the litter later on. Yeah,
we're like on the end of the millennial train. We're 25, so we're somewhere in between. But definitely, even those 5 years, like we had
huge difference.
We had on Mila, who I'm not sure, you might have seen her. She's big on TikTok too. Mila Holmes. She teaches social media managing. But we were even talking in her episode a few episodes ago about how even a year or two makes such a difference when technology is advancing so fast. So like even the 5-year difference, like you had an iPhone when you were like what?
12.
We had it when we were 12, so she had it when she was like 5.
I had an iPhone like my senior year of high school. I had the little,
but she was a late bloomer.
I had the flip phone. I had the Razor. Okay, y'all don't know about this life.
Yeah,
not the BlackBerry.
Yes,
I wasn't cool enough.
The Sidekick Switch. Okay, I digress. So good. I love everything that you've shared with us. I definitely, we had noticed something on your YouTube, which love that you're on that platform too.
Just stalking you. Yeah,
you know what we do. About credit card 101 and like hacking credit cards. And this is something that personally we definitely could be better with. But what is your very quick 101 on credit cards, maybe what people should avoid, what people should go towards?
It's crazy to me that you even like know this information because you're 20. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just feeling very aged right now.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Fine.
It's all good. That's why I don't explain my age at all much, because it either brings like somebody more insecurity or somebody who makes it feel like they know everything, like, oh, she's only 20. So I always leave like age out of the situation and bring what I have to offer.
Absolutely.
Love that.
As you should. Yeah.
So,
let your knowledge speak for itself.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all about credit cards. One, you should be very, very careful with them. This is how many people, trillions of people, have gone, or trillions of dollars have amassed with debt. And so understanding what a credit card is actually made up of and how it works is super important. And so what a credit card basically does, allows you to make a purchase now so that you can pay for it later. And for that, you obviously need to pay somebody. It's like your friend, you go to school and you say, hey, bro, do you have like $5 I can borrow? I need to get some lunch. Okay. They're like, okay, yeah. Can you pay me back $6 because I lent you that money like a few weeks later? Is that okay? And then you obviously super hungry. Yeah, I'm fine. I'll go ahead and pay you. And so eventually, if you don't end up paying over more and more time, you are going to have to owe more and more dollars. So this friend that first lent you money is going to be like, hey, you haven't paid me this week. I'm going to charge another dollar. Okay, now we're at $7. Hey, it's another week later. Why haven't you still paid me? I'm going to charge you $8. And then the friend maybe says in a few weeks, like, oh, okay, I only have $2. I can pay you $2 right now, and I'll pay you again the rest of the $5 because it was $7 later. And so what happens is that people don't realize that they have to pay everything, because what credit does is that it compounds and it digs a deeper and deeper hole that so many people have trouble paying off. And so first, before even looking into a credit card, make sure you have your budget in line. Like I always said, this money tree, you have to have that seed of budgeting, your roots implanted. Otherwise, that tree is going to come crashing down. And guess what? You're not going to have a money tree anymore. You're going to have a dead tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so really starting to think about credit, what are some ways that you can actually utilize it and make sure that you are doing good things with your credit? Easy, first thing first, set automatic payments on. This is one of the easiest ways. Like, okay, you don't have to forget. You don't have to pay interest. It does it on time for you automatically. If you're somebody who's super busy, just turning on that automatic payments can be a huge deal.
For
Another
sure.
thing is spending only 10 to 30% of your credit limit. So let's say, okay, you have $1,000 that they say, okay, you can spend $1,000 in 1 month on this credit card. You don't want to spend that $1,000 on the card. You only want to spend 10 to 30%. Why? This is because credit lenders actually, for some reason, it's such a stupid rule. They just don't want you to spend that much because many people have a harder time paying it off when it gets into the higher portion, like $700, $800, $900. And so if we use that $1,000 credit limit, it would really be only spend $100 to $300 on that limit.
That's so interesting. And I mean, credit as a whole, like I feel like is like, and isn't like the United States like one of the only countries that uses credit as a
And like
system?
credit scores, yeah.
Credit scores.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
stuff?
we see on TikTok, they're like,
Fuck this. Like, what are we doing?
their credit scores are fake. They are not real.
Mhm.
That's another conversation.
I did love what you said about automatic payments though. And I feel like that can really go for a lot of things, like whatever you like car payment or, Wi-Fi, whatever. Like I actually had an issue when I moved. I like didn't reset all of my automatic payments. So like it didn't even occur to me that like I was getting late on some things, which then was impacting my credit because I just hadn't turned on the automatic payments. And then I was getting like late payments. And it wasn't because I wasn't paying it. Well, I wasn't, but it was just because I was forgetting, not because I was intentionally not
Yep.
paying it. So definitely setting up automatic payments is huge pro tip.
Yeah, and what would you say about people who might use points or miles? Do you feel like that is something that's worth it, looking into credit cards that have those benefits, or are they all kind of the same in your eyes?
It depends on your personal life. If like you're somebody who travels, like you should go for a Marriott Bonvoy card where every single time you make a purchase, you get points to stay at a different Marriott hotel anywhere in the world. If you're a student who's just getting your first credit card or who's just entering college, you can get the Discover It student credit card where you can send them your report card or send them your transcripts, and they will actually pay you for getting good grades.
Oh,
And so there's
wow.
yeah, so
News
there's
to me.
Yeah.
right.
Would have
So
never
there's
qualified anyway, but I mean, that's insane.
yeah, so there's all these different kinds of credit cards. I mean, it really just depends on your situation, but one thing to stress is that there's a whole bunch of promotions going on with like receive 80,000 points when you spend $3,000 or more. This is something to be aware of because majority of time people will go after those promotional deals, yet they're not able to actually physically put them within their budget. And so this leads to that big, huge debt of I can't pay off my credit card because X, Y, and Z. This 80,000 points, I didn't even actually get to it. I was this close, but I still didn't get to it. And so you have to really be careful and budget when you're looking at those kinds of deals.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just like literally traps.
Yeah, that's the scary thing is I actually have some friends who are 25 and they have yet to open a credit card because they're scared. And I'm like, girl, you got to start billing that. But it's definitely something that is intimidating, I think, for a lot of people. And if they know themselves and they know that they won't
are
be
a little irresponsible.
Yeah, a little irresponsible, they may be hesitant. There is something I'm curious to know if you have more knowledge on, which is student debt. And I feel like that's super relevant for people our age and even people your age who are maybe debating if they want to put themselves in debt to get that degree. If you have any sort of knowledge or tips or advice on someone who is maybe finding themselves in a bunch of debt or looking into getting into debt, what would your insight be on that?
So I am totally against private schools, number one, unless you get a full ride or some sort of scholarships. I also think just traditional education in general is something that you really have to evaluate. Like, for example, I don't have any debt. I paid off all of college, but the thing is that when I was doing a marketing class, not once did they mention Google Ads, not once did they mention Facebook ads. They didn't mention anything about
No.
social
Oh yeah,
media marketing.
they're not up to that yet.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking
What?
about what you're actually wanting to go to college for, make sure that it's something that the school system is actually doing a good job teaching or is even teaching it.
Wow.
And if
That
you're
is blowing my mind right now.
Oh
It's so
yeah.
crazy.
It's
It's so
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, and
And
if you're doing something like pre-med or like law,
Sure.
and that's how I first started off, right? I was doing pre-med. So I started off in community college, and there's nothing wrong with it. It saves you a ton of money. Nobody looks where you're going your first 2 years. Everybody looks where
mhm.
you finished. And so I
Yes.
transferred over to a public state school, and I completed my degree and saved thousands and thousands of dollars because I did that community college first. And then I did my public in-state school.
Hell yeah, brother. We love that for you.
Yeah, totally.
And even, you know, bringing up Mila again that we had on a few weeks ago, you know, she teaches people social media management and like, you know, in this like little course, I'm sure people are learning so much more than if you were to be spending, you know, thousands and thousands on these marketing degrees, because in these marketing degrees they're not teaching you modern day marketing. What they're teaching you is what colors go together for McDonald's, and like that's what they're like how to have a billboard, like like literally such outdated shit, and not like, you know, how to like, you know, target your Facebook ads and, you know, get the highest, you know, ROI on those types of things. And it's, I mean, like that is modern day marketing. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, if a brand's not doing that or a company's not doing,
they're failing.
Like,
so like, what are we teaching these marketing students?
Like brick and mortar is just so like outdated. You know, it works for some people, that business model, but I mean, you know, social media is just where it's at right now.
And one thing too, like I learned how to write a traditional press release. I'm like, I could just go on Twitter right now, make a tweet, and that's where all the PR people are lurking. Okay, they don't
That's
want a
insane.
traditional press release. So like, there's all these different methods, and I'm sure like Mila does an amazing job. I follow her too. She's but yeah, it's just like making sure that if you're evaluating, like, hey, do I want to go into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into debt for this? Just make sure that one, you're doing it in a smart way, and two, this is something that I hate that advisors don't teach, is that okay, you start college, let's say you start college 2021, you don't end up graduating until 2025. You may not even know if a job or job opportunities are going to be there in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Is it a growing
so true.
market? Yeah, is it a growing market? Are we going to need more jobs, or is it declining field where we're not going to ever need jobs because automation and robotics are going to be taking over your field? And this is something that for some reason, I have no idea why advisors, counselors don't say anything about. They're like, yeah, do what you love. But like, is the thing that you love going to be existent? Is it going to be something that you can make money for? Is it something that the community needs? Is it something that, okay, you love and it's something that you're good at? Like, this is not anything that's taught.
Yeah. And I also love that you said that, because I forget what I was listening to, or if someone that we had on the pod, but it just like rang a bell in my head, and it was like, your job, you don't have to be in love with your fucking job. Like, you can enjoy, you shouldn't hate it, but you can enjoy it, but like, you don't have to always turn your passion, like the thing that you love most, into a job. Like, you can just do something that makes you money, that pays your bills, gives you the freedom that you want, gives you the hours that you want, and call it a day and do the things that you love on your own time,
Yeah, I want to dive into for a second about what you said about just like how your experience, you went to the community college and then you went to a state college, and I had a similar experience where I actually had a pivotal choice to make. I was either going to get student loans, put myself in debt to go to UCF, which is a really big school in Florida, or I was going to stay home, go to a local school, FIU, and actually get paid to go to school off of scholarships. And it was a huge blowout fight with my mom.
You had scholarships?
Yeah, because I'm smart. Because I wanted to get out of the house and be, have my freedom. I wanted to be free. And I think a lot of college, high school kids get wrapped up into this idea of having the college experience, which I won't deny. That is definitely an experience, and you will meet people, and your life may change based on the people you meet and the experience you have in college. However, you have to ask yourself if that's worth putting yourself in 40,000, 30,000, whatever it is, tens of thousands amount of debt. And I just look back on that decision, and my mom makes me give her credit. She's like, I'm the one who convinced you. But I do have to give her credit.
The witch voice.
That, I am not in debt. And I do see my friends who went to school, which amazing, great for them. A degree is never a bad thing. But I do feel in a way that I'm ahead because I didn't go put myself in a bubble for 4 years. I was here, I was networking, I was getting jobs, I was making side hustles, so it's like, it's just different in so many ways for everyone. I think, everyone's personal experience is going to be different, but my point is to just really hone in on what it is going to work best for you personally. Like you said, if you have scholarships, that will pay for school. Go for it. If you're going to put yourself in $40,000 in debt to have a college experience and make friends, maybe think twice.
Also, I also think, we should mention that some people kind of need that structure, because, we also say, oh, TikTok University, YouTube University, you can teach yourself all this shit. But like, I mean, I don't know many 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are going to teach themselves this shit. So like, some people kind of do.
Unless you're a rare breed like yourself.
Exactly. Can't relate. Not me at 20. So I think also some people just kind of like need that structure.
Absolutely.
I mean, I at least needed it for, 2 to 3 years to realize that I didn't need it, because otherwise I don't think I would have been doing anything with my life. I wasn't emotionally mature enough. Like,
right.
And, I did drop out at some point and, did start teaching myself shit. But, before that, I'm definitely kind of grateful that I did have that structure. And, everyone's path is different. But if you do feel like you can accomplish these things without putting yourself tens of thousands of dollars in debt, more power to you.
Yeah, you're giving yourself an edge at that point to not start your life in red, and starting from a point of green and just trying to make money from that point.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to catch up on the degree.
Exactly. Yep.
One more thing I just have to note, because you mentioned about the PR, what was it?
The PR press release
on Twitter.
The press release on Twitter. It's so funny because I see people on TikTok who are like, I went to school for 4 years for graphic design and all I use is Canva. And I just think it's so funny.
Oh, it's so good.
Exactly.
Like that sums,
crazy.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly.
And also you mentioning like the press release, not to mention like there's Fiverr. Like if you guys don't already know about Fiverr, that thing is like the best fucking thing. We use it all the time. Like
you hire someone who knows what they're doing
for $5-10. Like it's crazy. But I did want to just talk about, obviously you have your shit together. I think it really is incredible that you are 20 and just so mature and just knowledgeable. I do want to talk about your business. Tap. How do you say it? Tap into it.
Into it.
Yes. Okay. I didn't want to butcher that. Usually I'm the one that says things correctly around here. I want to talk a little bit about that, like what it is that you're doing with that. You're obviously like the CEO of it, kind of just talking about like the business aspect and kind of being your own boss as well.
I love it. Tap Into It first started off as a blog. That's literally how I got my whole start on social media, is that Tap Into It was this blog a few years ago where this is where I was talking about my transition from pre-med to finance and what I didn't learn, and showing my community, here's what I learned and what you can do as well, or some resources that you can find helpful to control your life using personal finance. And so this blog eventually grew into a community, obviously with many, many people coming from TikTok, many people coming from Instagram, YouTube, any social media that you really think of. Just getting a start on Twitter now. I don't know. But yeah, Tap Into It right now is pretty much just a community where you're able to connect with others based on your financial goals. But plans for 2021 is developing an app that really makes
Hell
you,
yeah.
the CEO of your own financial life through financial planning, automated and efficient, simple tactics that you can use and implement into your own life with just a swipe right. So this is something that's coming out in a few months in beta. You can
Yay!
follow the journey at Tap Into It, TAPINTUIT.co on Instagram, and we can share more later.
That's awesome.
So excited for you. We're going to follow right after we stop talking and support you in your journey. I think that's amazing.
Incredible.
And guys, instead of swiping right on Twitter,
Twinder.
Instead of
Twitter and Tinder.
Instead of swiping right on Tinder, swipe right on
Tap Into It, baby.
Tap Into It. Come on.
Yes, we love it.
Yes.
I am curious. You mentioned it was a blog, and so do you mean like blog in the traditional sense as like a website?
Blog in the traditional sense. I realized very quickly that I wasn't the best writer and I wasn't meant to be an English major. And so I talk numbers, and that's, that is how many people are like, blogs are okay to read. There's definitely a certain people, especially young people, I don't really think like reading too much. And so that's when I turned into vlogs. And so I had my start on YouTube. And then I had somebody, my Instagram obviously started to grow a little bit because of that. And I had somebody from LA who's like, Taylor, there's this platform called TikTok. This is back in early 2019. Taylor, this platform called TikTok, it's video. Like, you have such great stuff. People need to learn this. You need to hop on this platform right now. And I'm like, I checked it out and I'm like, oh no, there's, people dancing. This is way younger people, like the lower end of Gen Z on it. I'm like, this is not something that would fly within my farm town home. This would be something
literally
that's super weird. And so I slept on that idea until December 2019 when I flew out to LA to visit some friends, and I said, hey, fuck it, I'm here, might as well try it. Like, I'm in LA, this is the place to do social media. So if you're gonna do it, you might as well try it there. And like my 10th video in, boom, this whole concept of financial literacy went viral, and then from there it's just like making history.
Yay.
Love that.
Amazing. Oh God, we're
stans.
we love TikTok.
Yeah.
Amazing. Are you good?
I think that just about, I mean, of course we could keep you here forever.
We could talk forever, but this has been so value jam-packed. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to connect with you, where can they find more of you?
On all the platforms.
At Priceless Tay, PRICELESSTAY. Priceless Tay.
Amazing. And before we let you go, we're going to ask 2 questions quickly that we like to ask every guest. The first being, what would be your best biz pro tip? It could be something huge, could be something small, literally whatever you want.
Analyzing your past failures and making them into your future successes.
Period.
Off the top of her head.
Period.
Guys, we didn't cut anything in there. That
no
she
cap.
Just ran into it. I love it. Amazing.
All right.
And our next question is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Organization is the key to success. That's from my mom. Thank you.
Shout out, Mom.
We love a shout out to the mama.
I would agree, honestly. I mean, I think that, because it's so hard. There's so much up in your head, and there's just so much going on around all the time, and just kind of getting it to a plane, like a simple plane where you can kind of see everything and what's going on and move things from there, I think is huge.
Yeah, I think clarity is something, especially in this generation, not many people have. We're so influenced on all of these external things, and therefore we see in our life that everything's a mess, whether it be, you're not using a calendar yet, or you're always being late, or some kind of thing, like you're not making your bed every single morning. And these really contribute to your entrepreneurial life as well. Like there is a power to the people who, I'm not saying you have to get up early, but who have like a routine, whether it be they work out in the morning, they have their breakfast, they read or meditate for a little bit, and then they get on to their work day. There really is power into being organized.
What, quickly, if you don't mind me asking, what does your quick morning routine look like?
I get up around 7 a.m. and right now I'm in Pacific. I immediately get up, go out for a walk. This is something that I absolutely love doing. It clears the mind. It just, getting out into nature is something that it's unlike any other experience, whether it's a cold, rainy day or whether it's super hot. I travel quite often between New York, Florida, and LA. So right now I'm in California, but going out for that walk for about 30 minutes, doing stretching, doing my daily calm. It's an app that I got for free with American Express.
Ooh,
and then
yeah,
and then I do my breakfast, which is either eggs, avocado toast, some sort of juice that was made the night before. And then I pretty much get into it with emails, just 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. I do time blocking. And then from there, my day's blocked into, okay, I'll work on this amount of time for tap into it. I'll work on this amount of time to film videos. I'll do this amount of time to edit videos. I'll do this amount of time to do whatever. And this is a change that I recently did. It's not something that my whole entire business journey was about. Prior to that, I was that hustle, no sleep, no grind. Like last year, I was doing DoorDash. I was just rolling out of bed and getting started to work. I wasn't prioritizing self-care or self-love. And that really like had a huge toll on me. And going forward and like changing my lifestyle and prioritizing my sleep has been absolutely huge. Having 3 meals a day, having some snacks in the meantime, home cooked meals, like totally different experience. And so if you think that the no sleep, grind hustler thing is a move with you getting no sleep, I just have to say, like, try and get your full 7-8 hours of sleep. Try eating and like, Gary Vee always says,
try eating, try sleeping.
Yeah. Literally, no,
Totally.
like Gary Vee always says, for the younger generation, we always think that time is against us, but I think it's, as I'm growing older, I think it's for us, and that, there's so much power to all the abilities and technology that we have. Like my Apple Watch tells me how much steps that I need to take, or it reminds me to take a deep breath. And so use this stuff for you, not against you.
I love that.
Everything you said resonated with us so hard, because we're constantly preaching that it's like, as much as we are female entrepreneurship and women in business and go, set your goals, write them down, like get it done, we're also very much about balance and prioritizing mental health and self-care and blocking out time in your day, not only to work, but also to meditate and take care of yourself and eat a good meal and nourish your body. So amazing stuff. If you guys love this episode so far, please take a screenshot, tag us, let us know you're listening, and definitely send this to a friend right now who you think who would benefit from this conversation.
Tag a friend who needs to get their finances in check.
Yes. Thank you so much, Taylor. It was such an honor and pleasure to have you on. And brothers, have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.